What other personal growth did you feel starting this enterprise and on the journey that you went through?
Right.
What else did you learn?
Well, I think it further sort of reinforced what we were talking about earlier, that like, I mean, being able to do what you want. I mean, eventually we ended up being in 5 cities across Sweden and employing like 50 people. And I think when we peaked in the summer 2018, we had something like 500 kids around Sweden.
Wow.
Which I mean was fantastic. Once again, like reinforcing this sort of just do it mentality, that you can just reach out to someone in a different city and get them to become the project leader of your company there, and then you can launch it in a completely different place. Yeah, so like I think the sort of overarching takeaway is just like, just do it, just try it. There isn't, of course, failure can suck, but it's just really worth it to try. And I think one other interesting thing is just how good, like this, the startup cost to doing something like this is so low now, especially with something like Facebook ads. It's so easy to get customers. Like we didn't need this whole marketing machine. Like we literally cut together 5 pictures and we paid like something like $800 for Facebook marketing. And that made us easily sell we had more than 4 times as many applicants as number of spots for our camps. And that was within the span of a week. So like, it's like with Facebook marketing, you can, with very little capital, very quickly build a large customer base. And yeah.
Right, that's pretty interesting. And I think one of the other things that I think about is that, that just do it mentality and kind of that learning that once you start doing something and you felt the growth of it, you continue doing because you felt the growth of it in the past. One of the things I want to get to though is kind of before that stage, something that I always think about is when I have some certain ideas and then I start thinking about how much there is to do for the idea, you always start getting a bit overwhelmed with that. And the thing that gets into my head sometimes is like, I conclude that, this is just effort. There's no point. I'm never going to make any sort of difference. Did you ever have those thoughts?
Yes, definitely.
And if you did, then how did you kind of overcome those thoughts and still do?
I think what really matters in those situations is how motivated are you to actually make this happen? Like those thoughts happen all the time whenever you're doing something. And the only way to achieve something is just to want something enough that you can move past those thoughts. And I have been in a bunch of projects and things I've done where I haven't been particularly motivated, and then those thoughts come up and I just quit. Like I can't push myself through it. And
I think it's then an indicator that you're not as interested as you thought you were, maybe. Exactly.
And maybe you're lying to yourself. You want this sort of abstract thing, but you're sort of lying to yourself that you actually want to do it, and you're not actually motivated.
That's interesting. That's a really interesting thought. And also the other thing is that kind of fear of failure. It seemed like, did you have that at a time, or did you not have that at that time?
I think so. What was good here is we had this sort of the first summer where we just had my brother and his friends. Then we charged them a little bit of money, but it wasn't that much money. And like, it was a sort of dry run of the camp. So the fear of failure wasn't that big. But then of course, when we had our first big camp with 30 people that we have no connections to, or 30 kids that we have no connections to whatsoever, and whatever 60 parents back home hoping that their kids are going to come out as master coders, that of course then we sort of really felt the pressure of failure, like standing there the first day realizing like, holy shit, like this really needs to be a proper camp now.
You now have a responsibility.
Yeah, very much so. And it's a bit like, I don't know, seeing how the sausage is made, like it felt a bit strange, like, wait, is this the type, because we knew, and we were just two dudes who had made this camp, and we'd hired like a couple of other students to be teachers as well. And like, this isn't this really large elaborate scheme that we've like worked on for ages, like, but rather something that we've just made with our own hands, and it isn't something crazy. And it was kind of weird realizing that this is actually what most products are. They aren't this sort of big thing that people have worked on for ages, but rather just something that people have made, and it kind of works. Yeah, so that was scary the first day, where we were like, holy shit, people are expecting something. And we were very unsure whether or not what we had was good enough. But yeah, in the end, people were happy, so it's good.
Sure. You push through that, and you, I think, getting yourself in a situation like that, it forces you to up your game, right? You're putting yourself in that situation to step up.
Yeah, exactly. I think especially if you, like the way our business was structured, where we took in payments for the camps during the winter, you sort of have committed to doing something, which means it's really hard to back out of the camps. And I think that was pretty good, because that forced us to really make sure that when those kids showed up, there would be teachers there to teach them, and there would be an actual physical location for them to be at, and a curriculum for them to learn, because otherwise it would be really embarrassing for us. Whereas if it's sort of the other way around, where you first have to build the product and then find customers, that makes it maybe less motivating to build the actual product.